Welcome back to the fourth episode of the Mahabharata series. In our previous episode, we saw the rise of injustice and cruelty under the rule of Bhishma, a man revered as the protector of the kingdom. But the hands that were meant to shield have left scars of suffering. The seeds of vengeance were planted, and today we see the roots begin to spread. Once upon a time, in the heart of a kingdom, people were living in torment. The rulers, driven by greed and power, oppressed the masses. There was so little food that every person had to beg for a handful of rice. A single grain became a meal. They formed lumps of rice, sharing what little they had, but as they ate, their eyes were filled with sorrow. Each day, before their very eyes, someone succumbed to hunger. Corpses lined the streets, the stench of death becoming a part of their daily life. Even the ruler's family wasn't spared from this tragedy until only one boy remained, Shikhandi. When Shikhandi found his entire family dead, his heart was consumed by a single purpose: revenge. The gods have cursed me, he thought, but I will not be the only one to suffer. My enemies, Bhishma, and the kingdom that allowed this injustice will pay for what they have done. He lamented, if my cruelty against the people was a sin, then Bhishma's inaction is an even greater crime. How can he stand there, the protector of the realm, and watch us suffer? If I am called a tyrant, then what name should we give to Bhishma? The weight of his family's suffering became unbearable. As he waited for a chance to take his revenge on Bhishma, he realized it would come through another, Duryodhana. The gods had begun to weave their plan. Soon after, Duryodhana was born, and the very foundations of the kingdom shook. The royal astrologers rushed to King Dhritarashtra and Queen Gandhari with a grave message. Duryodhana is a curse upon the kingdom. Wherever he goes, misfortune follows. His birth signals the downfall of your dynasty. The kingdom will fall into ruin, and the Kauravas will destroy themselves. Hearing this, Dhritarashtra was enraged. We have longed for children, and now, after all this time, my firstborn is cursed? Duryodhana will remain by my side. He will inherit the throne, and no prophecy can change that. But that very night, Gandhari wept alone. Is this punishment for my impatience? She wondered. I forced my body to give birth before it was time, and now my child carries the mark of a demon. To understand Gandhari's despair, we must look back several months. Before her pregnancy, Pandu, the king of Hastinapura, had decided to live as a hermit in the forest, away from the throne. He built a small hermitage and lived a peaceful life with his two wives, Kunti and Madri. The forest dwellers revered them as if they were divine beings. One day, Kunti and Madri approached Pandu and said, "We have heard tales of your great archery skills. We have never seen you in action. Take us hunting and show us the art of archery." Pandu agreed, and they ventured into the forest. Pandu, blindfolded, relied solely on sound to track his prey. As he stood near the bushes, he heard a rustling sound. Without hesitation, he released an arrow, believing he had struck a deer. But instead, a human cry echoed through the forest. Rushing to the scene, Pandu found that he had not killed a deer, but two celestial beings, Gandharvas, who had taken the form of deer to play in the forest. In an instant, the joy of their game turned to tragedy. Pandu had slain the male, and the female lay dying beside him. The surviving Gandharva cursed Pandu. Even wild animals and hunters show mercy to those who seek joy. But you, a king, broke the sacred laws. For your crime, I curse you. The day you touch a woman in desire will be the day you die. Pandu was devastated. The curse doomed him to a life of celibacy, and he vowed never to return to the kingdom. His hermitage in the forest became his eternal exile. Dhritarashtra, hearing this news, rejoiced. His blind ambition saw the throne of Hastinapura as finally his. But when word came that Gandhari was pregnant, joy turned to frustration. How is it that I, who can father 100 sons, must sit on the sidelines while Pandu's children will inherit the throne? Dhritarashtra thought. He called for Kunti and Madri, commanding them to bear children for him, but they refused. Heartbroken, Kunti withdrew to grieve in silence. It was then that she remembered a secret from her past, a memory she had long buried. In her youth, the great sage Durvasa had visited her hermitage. Known for his quick temper and deadly curses, everyone feared him. But young Kunti, with a heart full of courage, served the sage with love and devotion. Impressed by her dedication, Durvasa gave her a powerful mantra: "With this mantra, you can summon any god and bear his child," he said. The significance of this gift was not immediately clear to Kunti, but one day, out of curiosity, she decided to test it. Standing by a river, she looked up at the sky, wondering which god to call upon. At that moment, the radiant sun god, Surya, appeared. Without realizing the consequences, Kunti recited the mantra, and the mighty Surya descended before her. A brilliant light enveloped her, and she found herself in a golden embrace. When the light faded, Kunti stood with a newborn child in her arms, a boy with skin as golden as the sun and a divine shield upon his chest. But her joy was short-lived. This child, born of the gods, would be condemned by society. Without a husband, Kunti could not keep him. Tears streamed down her face as she placed the child in a basket and set him afloat on the river, praying that Surya would protect him. "You gave me this child without my asking," she wept. "Now I must give him up, for I lack the courage to face this world with him by my side." That child was none other than Karna, the forgotten son who would one day become a hero, but live a life of sorrow. Next time, we delve deeper into Karna's journey, a prince without a crown, a warrior without a kingdom, and a man whose destiny was shaped by the cruel hands of fate. The story of Mahabharata is far from over. Stay with us as the next chapter unfolds.